channel. This episode we're in a town called Driffield in East Yorkshire. We are at what remains of Sunderlandwick farm. This is the garden, it's derelict. It's going up for sale, it's all going to be lost, it's all going to be knocked down. And they're going to build a new drive-through facility here of some kind, including a petrol station. So all this, what I'm about to show you today, will be gone forever. And there are really some quite special and spectacular things to see at this old farm. Things that have been lost and just don't exist anywhere else. And I believe this farm has something that is really quite unique and doesn't exist anywhere else. Now this farm is also built on what used to be medieval Driffield, and in the fields that I'm going to show you over this direction contains the remains of medieval village Driffield. You've probably heard of Warren Percy, medieval village. Well, there's one here underneath this farm. Now it's likely all that is going to get lost and dug through with footings for new constructions that are here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn that camera around and I'm going to show you what remains of some of these places on this farm. At the moment we're at the bottom of the garden. All this lot here, what you can see is the remains of what would have been potting sheds and greenhouses, which would have been part of the farm buildings, and where they would have most likely have got their own food from, as well as farming the land around here. Now join me as we turn that camera around and I'll show you some spectacular architecture for an old farm. These farms are rapidly getting lost, swallowed up, demolished, so it's important that we do show some of these things that are around us. Now that is where you saw me walking from. These are the remains of the greenhouses, potting sheds, things like that. And you can tell by the age of these by the type of mortar we've got across the top there and the brick. Solid brick, there's no frog on those. And there is another shed over there which is demolished and lost. You can see old pipe work here. Now this is the garden for the farmhouse. All these are fruit trees. I suspect they're a very rare, an old English apple type tree. Now whether these remain or get cut down is something we're going to have to see in the future. Remember, we're still in the garden of the farmhouse. And the garden is really spectacular and beautiful. I'm going to point you this way. As you can see, they've got their own lake and pond. By no coincidence, and it's certainly not a thing of luxury or wealth that they have that pond here. Perhaps it would have been later days. But farms used to generate their own power. The Industrial Revolution never really kicked off here in the sense of having big industrial mills and lots of coal. We're on the foothold of the world, which was built from chalk, not coal. So they would have had to have had water power to power their own mills. And we have the remains of an old industrial mill here as well, which I'm going to show you. Now this farm was built in the 1800s. It's pretty standard, fairly common build. You can see that this place has been vandalised. Last time I came here for a look around, all the windows were intact, but kids have now been here, been in there, put all the windows through. That's the back door to the house. They have a little bridge over there, which is rather nice, and this is the view from the house. Now at the other side of that bridge is the absolutely amazing thing about this farm, which is going to be demolished and lost. So this is why I need to document this for you. This house had stables. Let's get up here. And again we can see demolished and vandalised. Again, all these windows were intact when I came here. It's at least 3 stories, this building. Ground, second, attic, potentially even a cellar. We can't get inside. I am not breaking and entering into any building. And this has been the front of the house. I will give you a quick spin round to the front of your garden. Over there, more farm buildings. That is been converted into a modern farm shop. Sadly, it is closed. It didn't survive very long. And it's got classic arches of where hay, carts, horses would have gone in, and most likely been a hay loft. This building here is fairly new with this back wall, but that one is not. This is an original farm building, and I'm going to show you that because these are the stables. I'll show you from both sides. So remember, this is what the back of the stables look like. We've got work sheds, and we've even got this here, an old pump. Gloucestershire. Now that is pretty cool. This is not an ancient water pump, but nonetheless still fairly old. I will put some pictures up at the end of this video of some of the things that we're seeing. Now there's old workshops and everything here. All windows are being put through. It's all abandoned. Here we go into some stables now. This is incredible to me. We've got the floor. It's a fairly modern concrete floor, but not that modern. And this is your stables in here. We've got the old non-smoking sign there. I don't know if I can show you that door. Really heavy in there. Absolutely beautiful. Oh, we've got our horse tie-ups here. I don't know if you can see them. I'm just going to get my torch out. There you go. You see those on the wall? That's where they'll loop through for the horses. We've still got an old wooden floor up there. I'll just show you this as well. Old tin wash. What, hay and water. You can see inside this old farm is absolutely incredible. This is all going to be demolished and it's all going to be lost. So we have to document some of this stuff while we can. This looks like it says St. Pancras. I can't read the rest. And we've got quite a large one at the end here. Large stable. We've still got the hay rack in the corner. Sink's been demolished, pulled away should I say. And there's your horse tie-ups. And that one's got a piece missing off there. And you can just see the metalwork here and at the top there. I mean, nobody goes to this trouble anymore. We do have some steps here. And we've got a little horse trough here as well. You can see where they fasten up down there. These are all made of steel. If you go to these places in West Yorkshire, they tend to be made out of clay, glazed clay. And we can get up these steps. They are a bit dodgy, but I want to show you in the loft. I hope you can see that. Not a great deal of stuff to see. We do have a bit of old pottery there. Is there a maker on it? No, really old though. Okay, I'll get down. So that's where we were in there. I just want to draw your attention to this curved corner here. You never get that on a modern building, this. And then I'm going to show you the arch where this has been repaired at some point. We've got this ironwork helping support the arch and the building above. You can see we've got plastic and a mix of the old iron gutter in there. This archway, remember it, because we're going to come back for it from the other side. Just before we get to the other side there, amongst the trees, I forgot all about this, there's a little grave. It looks like there was writing on it at one time. It's made of concrete. Is that cross? Could be a pet of some description buried under there. Perhaps somebody's little pet dog. Maybe a farm dog. Now behind me is where we've just stood. I'm now stood on the bridge with two arches with the water going underneath it. We've just been looking at the stables, and I'm now going to show you the other side of the stables, but there's also another building next to them. Structurally unsound. It's going to fall down if it ain't going to be pulled down. No way of saving it these days. It's just too far gone. But it does have a couple of interesting features on it that are getting lost, that you're probably not really going to see anywhere else. And if you do know where there is some, and if you know the exact purpose of them, I would like you to let me know. Drop a comment. I'm going to turn the camera around and I'll show you what I'm looking at now. Now that's my view. This side is the stables. Some incredible brickwork on there. I'm going to show you that. This is a modern section we're not interested in, but it's from them two doors. But this building here. So if I show you this side first of all, we can see that it has had modifications on it, with doorways being bricked up at some point in its life. This farm was built in the 1800s. I suspect it was farmed long before this building was built. Sunderlandwick farm it's called. Now I'm going to show you down there so you can just see how bowed out that wall is. I'm going to draw your attention now to that building there. Now that building is really quite special, quite unique, and it's going to be lost, and I can't believe it. Anyway, we'll wait for that. Now these are our stables. This is the one side of them. If I show you the brickwork around the arches there, we've got the recess, got the sandstone, got these giant hinges, probably as old as the brickwork. I mean, look at this. Who builds a catch like this these days? And there's another one at bottom, a bit more modern version. But again, we've got the curved wall, we've got the recess in, and then we've got the sandstone plinths for the hinges at this side. Now there's nothing remarkable inside there, it's just a square box, but at one time it would have had feeding troughs, and it's where the horses would have been looked after and groomed as well. They're all stables. Now these are what I wanted to show you, this wall. There's something bricked up there, but these chutes, if I bring you to this one here, because it is in original condition, we've got this arch, and then we've got this chute going off at an angle, likely feeding troughs. I've never seen these before. I've been around a lot of farms and I've worked on farms, but I've never seen anything like that. Original features. I'll show you around the other side. That's where we are, just there. Now whilst I'm in here, I will show you this. This is the back of the sheds where the doors were bricked up at the back. Absolutely collapsing. I'm not going to go inside these at all, but I will point you in because we've got a feeding trough quite low down at the back, more than likely for cattle or pigs. This is a huge modern building. We're not interested in that, but I will show you the other side of that. We're interested in this building here with the arch, and then we'll just have a quick another look at these stables. So leaving those feeders behind, we're back at the stables. This one we can go in. I mean, it's a big empty room, modern, woodwork there, and inside there nothing spectacular. There's a couple of old tills in there, supermarket trolleys, probably storage for that farm shop. So we'll leave this one behind, and then we're almost at the end of the stables here. We'll have a quick look inside this one. Again, it looks like this has been altered by the floor level. Brickwork down there. We've got a storage area up there. They look like they've been pigeon cages of some description, possibly. But again, if we can look at the gable end, I hope you can see the pattern on that brickwork in the gable end. They don't do this sort of brickwork anymore, unless it's a special request. It's by somebody quite wealthy. More modern equipment, sink washing area. And as you can see, it's just a vast empty room. These are the stables that we were in with all the ironwork, and I said, remember that passageway? That's where that is. Now our next interesting building is this one here. I'll show you the archway on that. Again, you just don't see this anymore. This is all going to be pulled down and lost. Most likely that shape for getting carts through, horse and carts. I don't know the original use of the building, but that building there, we're going to go inside there now. Now I did say we were going to go in that building now, but my brother has just pointed out to me that I hope you can see that stone in the end, gable end, dated 1841. That is the age of this building, and it's going to be pulled down. They're not even looking into saving any of this place. It's all going to be pulled down. As we're walking around Sunderlandwick farm, this building here is representative of what's going to happen. This one has already been started to be stripped. It's had all the pan tiles removed. This is one of the older buildings that had all that stuff remaining. The walls are now being taken down and being palleted up and sold on. Whilst it's good that that the building's been recycled and reused, this place could potentially be quite a nice luxurious area to live, but it's going to be lost. I'm going to turn the camera around again just to show you that one more time. So that's the building that's already on its way down. Those are the stables. New gable end on that side. We've got another water pump here. There. That's the farm shop, which would have been a hay loft, I suspect. And we've got a big long building down here, which we will have a quick glance at because that's an old square farmyard. And there's our 1841 building. Now it's in this one here. Really rare, interesting stuff. You can see the shape of this. Quite a long building. There would have been an original doorway there. That's been a bit of a mishmash of modern era. And we've got a doorway at the top there. Got an archway here. And some little windows, different levels. We'll go inside and I'll show you what remains in here. I suspect this is the old mill for the farm. Now if we look up there, these are cast iron flywheels of some description that would have had a belt round them at one time, probably driven by water from the pond where we just were. Later in life it would have been converted into mechanical, electrical use, and we've got a generator down here on the floor still. I don't see any obvious makers' names on there, but I do have a friend that does work on those kind of things, so he might be able to date that for me. If you can, write me a comment. Now this is our hopper room. That's the building what has the nice fancy arch on it. And we've got another mechanical device down there, an engine of some description. Our flower wheels up there. On the back of this is that modern farm building, what we're going to walk through shortly, because it's important that we see the other side, because it's the future. In there we've got just some old equipment, axles, and what shows us this was the original doorway is the brickwork around here. And it looks like we've got some old David Brown tractor doors there through the colour in white. Loft at that side, and through there more equipment, machinery. This is an original doorway here, all blocked up. On the back of there is the modern farm building, but we've got the curves around the door, what they used to do. Another doorway that's been cut in later in its life, and we've got some machinery here. That's galvanised hopper, but then we've got this piece of kit down here. What on earth was that? Was that a grinder of some description? We've got a chute, a hopper, and then a piece of machinery down there, and then we've got some electrics for it here, and then we've got another chute here, probably where they used to bag things up underneath, coming through there. I'll put that up for you. I wonder if that company still exists. Now the next thing we're going to do is just have a quick look at these buildings here as well. That's where we just were, the 1841 building that I think was the mill. Now as you can see, it's got a modern roof on it. We can see the gable ends just poking up, just prepared to disintegrate really. And then we've got this square farmyard area here. Now some people do convert these into more modern day living, and the big features of these arches. Now we can get in there a little bit, and we will do that, because I think later in life these have been used as pig sheds, but I don't know why these were like this originally. Were they to get hay wagons in, storage of hay? This has got more modern frontage compared to the rest, but then at the end we've got original brickwork at the end too. But what we can do is we can have a quick deke inside these, and I'll show you what it looks like. We've got modern floor, we've got a path around the edge. I do know that farms have used these actual yard areas for winter for small holdings, because it probably would have had a wall across there at one time with a gate on it, and they'd have been able to keep pigs and cattle in there and let them in this area during the winter for more small farms. And if we step inside here, the electrics are fairly modern, but we've also got like heat lamps on the floor. We've got sides at the end. Could it have been a milking shed, this one? And here we've got feeders, and then down there just a lot of shed space really. I'll show you up into the rafters. It's all fairly modern. I don't think any of that's original. The brickwork on it here is original. The corners, really old stuff. Modern day breeze block dividers, and this looks like we've got a catcher where they trap the heads and they try and do various things with them. This is the door we've just walked in and had a look around, and I do remember scouting this place out and seeing this chimney here, that little window, and this bricked up arch which seems to match the dates of all the other bricks more or less. And we could get in here last time, but we can't today. But I can show you in there. You see that fireplace there, look. There's that hearth where somebody probably used to stay up all night while the animals here would be birthing during the spring, because they never used to have on-call vets to help them. They used to do it all themselves, and they would have had to have stayed awake all night taking it in turns, and that is probably where they did it rather than be in the farmhouse, so that they were on hand to save as many of the animals' lives as possible, not for altruistic reasons but for money value. So next I'm going to show you what's left, where that you can see it knocked down there, what's happening. Now that arch behind me wasn't uncommon on this farm, and I wanted to film this for the rare things that still remain, because it's all going to go, like I keep saying. And round the other side, where I'll show you, and by other side, that's the arch. I mean the other side of this fairly modern building, which strangely enough has still been used to store some farm equipment. I guess it's got nowhere else to put it in the meantime before all this goes. That's the back of our 1841 building. You can see the back of the doors, things like that. But here is another area that's already gone. The last time we came here scouting it out, there was a bit of a ruined building there, bits of ruined building here, but that there, where you can see now, is demolished. It's gone. That had more of those arches that were more spectacular than ones we've already seen, but it's gone. This is the end of the 1841 building. These arches no longer here, sadly. This is going to get demolished, and now what we're going to do now is go to a building down there which is just an incredible find. For us today, that building behind us there is really quite something spectacular. You've got to remember that farm, 1841, that building, that's before the railway stations were built in most towns across the country, never mind Driffield itself, which is where we are. So everything had to be sourced locally and done locally. Even the iron had to be brought in from somewhere to run these farms, because they needed iron equipment, they needed forks, they needed shovels, they needed ploughs, and it all had to be done and repaired on site. So all the little farms around would have had all their own blacksmiths. Now I've been to a lot of farms around these places, and I've never seen one with a blacksmith. And that building that you can see behind me there, through that doorway, is something quite spectacular and a very rare find to see. Now that's the doorway. However, if we look here, we've got a water supply right next to us, and it would have had a race that went to that building, which goes round there, which would have gone to the miller's building. Now if we look on the outside of this, we've got an iron window there. That won't have been cheap to produce. It is in such a state there is possibly absolutely zero chance of this ever being saved. Now you've got to remember, it's not just these buildings that are going to be going and demolished. There is the risk of losing the remains of medieval Driffield in the fields and under this farm. They would have dug through that to get to this, but archaeology wasn't a real thing during 1841, and it was the very birth of it. Now it is absolutely beautiful to look at, this greenery around it. You've got the ivy growing up round the chimney, you've got the old brick. And here we've got the doorway there, we've got the gable end, and the top of here we've still got the arch and the filler. Now look at this, look how raw that is. That is probably as old as the building. And then look at the catch on this side, absolutely massive. And then we have got a chain here, really old chain. Now this is the old blacksmith's building to the farm, and we've had a look around at what we can find on the floor, and what we found is all bits of metal everywhere, possibly things that are made in here. We've got this thing here with leather on. Anybody know what that is? It's not hollow. It's got that on either end. And as we were looking around as well, we found more ironwork. And this, oh, you can see where he's been bashing it. This would have been held and smashing down on top of there with a hammer. That's his workbench. We've still got attachments to it here. Who knows what this was? A vice of some description. And I'm deliberately not showing you down there because that blew me away. This is the fire. This is where he would have had his flames. That's where he would have done his work inside there, and then we've got the chimney going out to the top. Now, in order for this to be getting up to temperature, to be able to melt and mould and shape the iron, they would have had bellows blowing into the side of this, and they are still here today. Look at this. Leather bellows with a wooden top. Now, if I've ever seen something worth saving in Driffield, it's this. It is incredible. That is what would have been pumped, blowing air into the wall there, heating up the top of the fire, which was from down there, making their tools. This is where his workshop was, and the equipment is still in place. My brother's going to demonstrate how those bellows were operated because the tool is still there. Okay, go ahead. You see that be pumping up and down. We've got the chain on the back, which would have attached to the bottom of there, which still does, but there's just not enough movement on it because it'll break. And you can see how it's concertinaed. And that lever is still in place that operated these bellows. In fact, it is moving. Wow. Now let's just back out a little bit more. And the blacksmith with his mate, potentially, young lad learning the trade, how to operate that. I hope you've enjoyed this episode looking around Sunderlandwick farm at Driffield. It's all going to be lost, it's all going to be gone. The bellows there are just absolutely incredible. Now I'm going to leave this behind me now, because it's not only the farm that's going to be lost, it's going to be a piece of Driffield history. Driffield used to be surrounded in these farms, they're all fast going. There was one up towards the Driffield school area, which is now knocked down, built on. I believe the farmhouse still stands, but that's it. Didn't do anything else with the buildings. So as we leave our blacksmith behind us there, we'll see what happens. I may come back and show you this and show you what they built, and I can guarantee it won't be anywhere near as attractive as any of this. It'll be all ruined, it'll be all concrete, modern, prefabs, junk. In the meantime, please hit like, share and subscribe, and I will see you in the next episode.